Hello and welcome to the Beat Cancer Answer, brought to you by BeatCancer.Org, the Center for Advancement in Cancer Education. We believe that 90% of all cancers could be eliminated through environmental and lifestyle choices alone, and science agrees. Unfortunately, most people don't know it, so we provide the education that can help you prevent, cope with, and beat cancer through diet, lifestyle, and other immune-boosting approaches. On every podcast, we will feature an expert who can teach us how to become part of that 90% who could prevent getting diagnosed with cancer. If you already have cancer, we have empowering information for you too. Over the past 35 years, we have helped thousands of cancer patients get back into the driver's seat when it comes to their personal journey of healing cancer and preventing future reoccurrence.
Listen as Beat Cancer's Director of Community Outreach, Debbie Melamed, interviews Dr. Ron Weiss of Ethos Health on his food as medicine practice.
Hello, everyone. Today we are speaking with Dr. Ronald Weiss. He is the Executive Director and Primary Care Doctor at the wellness center he founded called Ethos Health. Dr. Weiss is a board-certified internist and integrative physician who has brought true healthcare reform to the state of New Jersey. He believes in the body's natural ability to heal itself from chronic illness by eliminating toxins, practicing a healthy lifestyle, and eating an organic, whole foods, plant-based diet that's ecologically sustainable. He treats his patients at his wellness center located on a 342-acre farm in Long Valley, New Jersey, where he teaches them the power of nature and that food is our best medicine. You can find him at www.myethoshealth.com. Welcome, Dr. Weiss. It's a pleasure to have you with us.
Oh, thank you for having me, Debbie.
Great. So nice to find someone local, and I'm very excited to hear all about your program. So, can you tell us how you came to transition from traditional medicine to integrative medicine, and how your background in farming and botany led to your healing beliefs?
Yes. Well, it's a bit of a story. I was trained in a very traditional academic setting at Rutgers, New Jersey Medical School in Newark, New Jersey, and then went on to do an internal medicine internship and residency at George Washington University Medical Center in D.C. And about a year after I had finished my training, my father, who was about 70 at the time, who was an attorney, was diagnosed suddenly with end-stage metastatic pancreatic cancer. He had been having severe abdominal pains for a few weeks, went to the doctor, and that was the diagnosis we were handed.
Wow.
We took him to the best cancer hospital in the world, and he was given 1 to 3 months to live, and offered some chemotherapy. At the time, it was 5-fluorouracil, which was the primary treatment for pancreatic cancer, with an 85% no response rate at all, and then about a 15% chance that the tumor could shrink a little bit, but not extend life to any degree or improve it. And
so
that was it.
Traditional medicine didn't offer you anything,
no.
Really?
And he was offered maybe some experimental drugs as well, or protocols that were being tried out. And that was, that was like 1992. 1992 was almost 25 years ago. So, he, and by the way, 5-fluorouracil is still a mainstay chemo agent that is used for pancreatic cancer. It's the second-line drug now. We have not made really much gains in the past couple of decades in the treatment of this terrible disease.
And nothing dietary, of course.
No, nothing dietary. There was no advice given. Just to take this drug or nothing. So my father, who was a pragmatist and a wise person, decided to go home and just prepare for death. And I moved back home to take care of him. And it was
tragic.
Just a not a good situation, that house. And I walked out of the house and walked down the street, went to the Fair Lawn Public Library where I'd grown up reading books. And even though I treated many of these patients, like my father, during my training and my residency in Washington, D.C., I knew what had happened to them. They all invariably died a miserable death, very painful. And I just was, young doctors, when they're unleashed, upon society, and they come out into the world to help people, they want to do so with gusto, and they have a very good ethic, trying to save people and wanting to do good. And here I had my own father I realized I could do absolutely nothing for. So with great humility, I entered the Fair Lawn Public Library and started going through the stacks and looking for just books on alternative methods. And I went through many of them, including, Chinese medicine and Chinese herbs and acupuncture and, Laetrile, if you remember that one from the 1970s and 80s, even shark cartilage, stuff like that, and, yoga and all kinds of things. And I finally came across a book which had testimonials in it from people who had been on a macrobiotic diet, which is a type of a whole, unrefined plant food diet. And I read these stories, and they seemed to be, valid to me. I brought the book home to my father, read it to him, and he grabbed onto it, and he agreed to take a dietary approach. And so I made him an appointment to go to see Michio Kushi, who was we took him up to Boston at the time. He was the leader of the macrobiotic movement in the United States. And he was then placed on a very severe, very restricted plant-based diet, probably much more severe than I would even do today. And he did amazingly. He all of a sudden, literally, like someone waved a magic wand, his severe pains were gone within a day or two. His bowel movements became normal. His energy picked up. A week later, he was back in the office working. He was an attorney. 2 weeks later, he was in the gym. 3 or 4 weeks later, he was running. He never felt better than he had in his life. And this was where most of his
pancreatic cancer.
Most of his liver had already been replaced by the tumor. So he was very sick and got off all of his pain medications. He was on strong narcotics. About 3 months later, we got a CAT scan on him, which showed a 30% reduction in most of the tumor masses in his abdomen. And 9 months later, got a follow-up CAT scan, showed a 50% reduction in these tumor masses. Yeah. A year later, we went back to the cancer hospital to follow up to see if there had been, any developments, maybe new drugs, new treatments that had come out or protocols. And my father was still doing very well. He, by the way, lived about 18 months, and the quality of life was excellent all the time. He was in his office working up until about 2 weeks before he passed away, which was, what he loved to do, where he worked in a poor neighborhood as an attorney.
Oh.
And so when we walked into the hospital to meet the head of the department of this cancer hospital, he saw my father, and he was shocked to see him walking in. And he started we sat down. First question was, he wanted to know what my father was doing and why he was back. It was a veiled question, basically wanting to know why he was still alive.
Absolutely.
And when my father started to talk about eating seaweed and brown rice and kale, this doctor's eyes rolled up backwards, lost complete interest in what my father was saying, and changed the subject, and just went on. And I was very disturbed by this. I think when I think back upon it, I was very young and I knew I was disturbed because I knew that this was not nonsense my father had been involved in, and I knew it was the only thing that made him live as long as he had. But the doctor had no interest in finding out this information from my father. And I've since learned that patients will come to you with all kinds of information that you haven't learned in medical school, right?
Right.
I mean, it may be a folk medicine. Someone may put a teaspoon of something in the throat or whatever, mouth, from some folk custom that was 1,000 years old or from some culture. And just because it is not in Harrison's textbook of internal medicine, it does not mean that it's not valid. And I think it's incumbent upon physicians to listen to their patients and listen deeply and well, because that's the way we can best serve the patient.
Yes, it must be very frustrating when your own profession did not embrace your beliefs and what was going on, and that they don't have this information or education to help patients when it's almost 1 in 2 people gets a cancer diagnosis in their lifetime now.
Yeah.
Yet there's really no mainstream help.
There is not.
It's more just treating the symptoms.
And what's more upsetting in this day and age is that when we have such powerful evidence, scientific evidence, we do have it now, and it does exist, on how powerful foods can be in the prevention and treatment of cancer.
Yes.
The average conventional doctor, the cancer doctor, or other, kind of doctor, whatever he or she may be, his specialty, will typically, when the patient comes, and I know this because all of my patients tell this to me, when they query the doctor and say, I have such and such this cancer, should I change my diet? What should I eat? The doctor will typically say, just whatever you want. Just keep eating the things that gave you your problem in the first place.
Exactly.
So I agree. There's something very wrong, especially when
candy in the waiting room too.
Yeah, evidence proves otherwise. And after all, medicine is an evidence-based science. We act and we advise patients because we have evidence and proof of how we should be treating patients.
And it's really a shame that people get cancer then and they have to go find alternative routes to dig underneath because it's not mainstream, it's not readily available. But that's why we're here, because we're helping to get the word out, and prevention is so much easier also. So the more information people can get to start putting this diet and things to work and living this kind of lifestyle, the less problems they'll have.
Absolutely. The prevention is, obviously, right? An ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure, that old saying. And it is so true. And we don't want to get cancer, and that's why, you should make hay while the sun shines. Before you have cancer, you should be eating like this. But, I often tell patients that, especially cancer patients, when they come to me, I'm a pragmatist, okay? So at the end of the day, I don't care what tools I use or what I advise the patient to do, as long as the patient benefits from it. So if there is a chemo agent or a drug that can save the patient and cure the cancer, and not kill the patient or not make the patient go into heart failure, or take it.
Right.
Do it. If it doesn't have side effects and doesn't ruin the patient's quality of life, and if it benefits the patient in some demonstrable way, take it. Do it. Sometimes things in life are not black and white.
Absolutely.
We have many patients who are on chemo. There's evidence, whether they should be on chemo or not, that's a different story. I believe that a lot of chemo just has not shown any benefit in prolonging cancer patients' life, and definitely not in improving the quality of life. Right. And plants do that. they really improve the quality of life, even
without
for a
harming.
patient who is on chemo. Yeah.
Without harming. And you have a background in farming and botany.
Yes.
That's very
so
interesting.
before I went to medical school, all of my life I'd loved and grown plants, and then I got a botany degree from Rutgers.
Wow. That's amazing. And that how great to go along with your medical degree. And
it is. It helps me understand and have it's more than understand. I have a love for these plants and the way their molecules. The way their molecules intercalate or interact with our DNA, our human DNA, to make us better.
That is really fascinating.
Yeah, it is amazing. And the thing is that when my father was diagnosed, we knew nothing about this. We didn't have all of this molecular information. We didn't know how the molecule in the genistein, which is a high-end plant molecule in a soybean, that it could unlock the power of a woman's, BRCA gene, so that the BRCA gene could help kill the cancer cells. We didn't understand this, but just in recent years, on a molecular level, we have explanations for this. So it's a very exciting time.
It is really exciting. You want to tell us about the Ethos Diet and tell people why a whole foods plant-based diet is central to optimal health and healing?
Yes. Well, so the Ethos Diet is it's a whole food plant-based diet. It is a diet that is made of whole, unrefined plant foods. So essentially, if it is a plant and it was not processed by machines and factories or extracted, it's good to eat. That's the essential rule. And at its very high end, it excludes foods that come from animals.
Okay.
Animal sources, whether it be dairy products or any animal flesh or seafood. And in just as an addendum to this, or a rider, just so people understand, it also tries to avoid other processed foods that don't come from animals and that even come from plants. For example, like vegetable oils or olive oil, and salt, which is we try to pay attention to because it is so predominant in our food system, and we know that evidence shows that salt is, high levels of salt is not good for you. So that's the basis of the diet. And on top of all that, when we eat the plants, we try to make sure that the plants are of a wonderful provenance. So we are of the opinion that it really does matter where your food comes from and how it is grown. And it matters for two major reasons. First of all, and this is kind of common sense, if you grow plants in a good environment with a good soil and good, clean air and clean water, well, then they're more powerful than if you grow them in sand with polluted water and pesticides. It would make sense. The other thing is that it's important to pay attention to the way we grow our food, because we have limited resources in this world, and soil is one of the most limited of them. And every time conventional produce is grown, it is akin to mining the soil. We are extracting the nutrients that the plant has from the soil, not putting anything back. And the chemicals that are used are killing the life in the soil. And all of this degrades the soil to the point where it will be, we think it's going to be difficult to sustain our children and grandchildren and future generations on this planet. So it's important to eat like this, just not for our own health, but to secure the survival of future generations.
So people should buy organic to support the soil also.
Well, and that brings up another topic, organic. It's hard sometimes. People are confused, and sometimes I'm confused about what that means. I think I could best say it by saying you should buy the food from I previously alluded to the word provenance, that is of a good provenance, so that you know where it came from. Unfortunately, in this day and age, that's not always possible. So if you know a farmer and you know who the farmer is, support your local farmer who is good, who doesn't use chemicals. There are many small farmers who are not certified organic because it's too expensive and there are too bureaucratic a process. But
Right.
if you know that farmer, you'll know what he does. He or she will show you their soil. You can walk onto their farm at any time of day or night, and the farmer will be glad and proud to show you what they're doing. So a local farmer, support them, eat their food, and then when you run out of their food or it's not available, I guess the best next thing would be to buy USDA certified organic. It doesn't really tell you how the soil was taken care of, that certification, but it is some reassurance that there is some procedure followed that is not harmful to the earth. And in general, pesticides and harmful biocides, as Rachel Carson termed them, are not being used on the produce you're eating.
Right. So we kind of term it a locavore. So try and go to your local farm, have a relationship with the farmer, learn what they grow and how they grow it and what their ethics are, and buy local.
Yeah, and you'll be supporting your local food system.
Absolutely.
Your local food chain, which is basically really kind of falling apart in this country.
Right. I read that your farm has been in operation for over 275 years, which is incredible, and it's also a national landmark and part of the New Jersey Farmland Preservation Program.
Yes.
That's really amazing.
It is. Our farm was settled by German immigrants who were fleeing religious oppression. They came here in the early 1700s. They sailed across the Atlantic trying to get to New Amsterdam, New York, where the Dutch were. They were blown off course and instead unknowingly sailed up the Delaware River and ended up in Philadelphia with the Quakers. And because I guess the Quakers were more of a freewheeling liberal kind of people, they didn't get along with them very well, and they tried to walk north through Pennsylvania along the west of the Delaware until they said, we have to get back to New York, and they started walking across New Jersey, and they walked across the mountain, this ridge called now today Schooley's Mountain, which hems in our farm, and they looked down and they saw a sea of prairie grass. It is kind of unusual. Our valley was covered by these grasses, these native grasses, in prehistoric days, and basically because they'd been through wooded areas, they saw this as great farming land, and in fact it was. And these families came down, and our farm sits on the neighbor farmstead, which is one of these people who are on that ridge. The Leonard neighbor came down and settled this land, and this was his farm and his family's farm for about 200 years.
That's incredible. And I saw you have some really neat wildlife preservation programs, and you have warm season grasses and meadow restoration, and
this all, the people of Long Valley, this entire valley, most of it has been preserved by the people of Long Valley because it was threatened by housing developments and strip malls in the latter part of the 20th century because we're only an hour west of Manhattan. So it's a commuting town for West New York, for New York, and for northern New Jersey. So the people preserved all these lands and put them into farmland preservation in the first action of its kind in the nation. And so because of that, large areas of the valley are preserved, and there's forests and farmland, and the river, there's a watershed that goes through here, so it's very preserved. There are a lot of birds and wild animals, and it's I think that it's our delight and our pleasure to help be a part of this, to make it continue on.
Nature is at its best there.
It is, and the wonderful thing is, it's a wonderful template to invite a sick person to, because it's a beautiful place to reconnect and rediscover the natural world, and harness these forces through food, because they flow through the food that we feed the people, and that's what makes them well.
Yeah, I think our disconnect with nature is what brings on illness, and I think that's really important, getting back to nature. And you have Nature Alive there. It's very exciting. I read that your farm is ranked by the USDA as prime farmland, which is the top agricultural soil classification in the United States.
Yes, there are different classifications of soil, and this entire valley, or almost all of it, consists of a soil called Washington loam, which is one of the first soils that was analyzed by the Department of Agriculture about 100 years ago. And it's a deep, rich clay loam. There are not rocks in it. It was sort of deposited here by the river. It's like an alluvial soil, and it's wonderful. During droughts, it holds water, and then during floods, it drains water. So it gives you, the best qualities of soil on both ends.
And you've gotten that soil by regenerative agricultural procedures.
Well, this is the soil that was made by the planet Earth through erosion and through forces of water in the river and nature. So now what we are doing is, when we got the farm, it had been conventionally farmed for many years, many decades. It was a working farm, but it was not an organic farm.
Okay.
So we have been reclaiming the conventional farm by building up the soil through planting warm season grasses, these native prairie grasses, native species, composting, using cover crops, doing all those things that are so wonderful at restoring soils. And that's what we've been doing every day since we got here 5 years ago.
And I think it's so interesting that you call it cultivating a living soil. Yeah. Between that and the sun, it seems like the food would be so nutrient dense.
It is, and what's most wonderful to the consumer, whether the consumer is interested in health or not, or to the eater, is that these molecules that develop because of the beautiful water and the beautiful microbes in the soil and the quality of the soil, it imparts wonderful flavors, fantastic textures, wonderful freshness and staying power to the produce. So these molecules that result from this kind of attention to the soil cause the produce to have, from a gastronomic view and standpoint, fantastic quality, smells, flavors, vibrant colors, pigments. So, yeah, it's a good thing all around.
Just teeming with nutrients.
Yes.
So, yeah, it must taste so different than like one of your tomatoes than a tomato that you get from the supermarket that could be even genetically modified.
Very much so.
They're just two different animals, aren't they?
Very much so. We try to, for all intents and purposes, the things that we grow here also are open pollinated varieties. In other words, they tend not to be hybridized seeds, and they're old-fashioned seeds that were developed and hand-selected by farmers over generations. So these seeds were picked because of their colors and their taste and qualities. We don't grow things because they have to be shipped from California to New Jersey and have them be intact with a firm skin without bruises on the tomato for 1 week after they were picked. So our stuff is grown, the primary drivers are taste, freshness, and nutrition.
So I think it's really interesting, too, when you talk about when we eat these plants, we absorb the energies from them and the healing properties of them, and the plant molecules bind to our DNA and alter our expression. So I'm not sure if this is true or not, but even if you have certain genetic predispositions, can your diet and lifestyle affect how they are expressed?
Oh, absolutely. And we have evidence. We know this to be true that it does. So across many different studies, including the China study by T. Colin Campbell. So
yes, I did read that book.
The prevailing thought in the plant-based whole foods world that informs the daily practice of every practitioner is that a patient is not a victim of their genetic inheritance. We are dealt cards from our parents, our mother and father, from the genes we inherit, but it is the food that ultimately determines the ultimate expression of those genes. So, for example, we've all seen these families where, everybody died of a heart attack, right, when they were 50 years old or had open heart surgery, where the grandfather, the uncle, the great-uncle, the father, the brothers, they all seem to peak out at 48, 50, 55. Well, if this family were to be put on a plant-based whole foods diet, we would have never known that. It's because it's the harmful diet that they were eating that caused the disease. If they were to avoid that and eat healthy plant foods, they would never have a bit of obstruction in their arteries. They would be completely fine and go on with their life.
Yeah,
Same
they say
thing is true of
cancer
breast
really,
cancer.
Genetically, the genes, I should say, are really only responsible for 5 to 10% of cancers at most.
Yeah, at most.
At most.
And you have to remember that I know women, for example, with breast cancer talk about, they're always worried about the BRCA gene when you get breast cancer. But this is responsible for only a tiny amount of breast cancer cases. 85% of breast cancer cases that occur in America are sporadic. We either not related to any, that we know of, to any sort of genetic inheritance, and there are no relatives in the family that have had breast cancer. And here's the thing we now know. It's now thought that mutations such as BRCA are often caused by chemicals in the environment. All mutations in genetic codes are caused by chemicals that change the DNA or the effects on the DNA that we inherited from our parents. So plants help to address all of that. We evolved with them for 2 million years. So they're pretty smart at knowing how to keep us healthy.
Absolutely. What types of things do you grow on your farm?
Oh, well, our specialty is salads or greens. And the reason why is because we believe that, the dark leafy green salad or greens are those are the most powerful nutrient-packed, disease-preventing and reversing food that you can eat.
Okay.
So we specialize in that, and we grow all kinds of these greens. We also are specialized in growing, of course, Jersey tomatoes, which our state is very well known for. And Well, we usually grow many different kinds of heirloom varieties, usually about 30 or 40 different kinds. And, we grow other kinds of vegetables, anywhere from carrots to beets to peas to radishes, strawberries, blueberries, melons. And, hopefully as we develop the farm in the future, the dream is to provide someday a complete, whole, unrefined plant food diet that can carry people through an entire year, even during the winter, so that we can feed the community a wholesome, local, chemical-free, high-end diet. And, this is possible. Yeah.
And you also say that the diet's minimally processed. So most things are how much of the diet is cooked and how much is raw?
Well, when I say processed, that doesn't refer to cooking.
Okay.
Processing, I mean, like, for example, taking an olive and squeezing out its oil and then bottling that.
So you'd much rather someone ate the olive?
Yes. Or taking a stalk of sugar cane and squeezing out the juice and crystallizing it and selling it as sugar. So that's what I mean by processing. So cooking, no, we believe in cooking. I mean, in fact, cooking, our recommendations for cooking are, you should eat what you enjoy most. And if you want to cook something because you'll enjoy it more, you should eat it. Cook it and eat it. There are some things there are many plant foods whose nutrient balance may deteriorate with heat, but there are others where the nutrition is enhanced by cooking it.
Right.
So.
Do you use certain oils when you do cook then, or are you steaming in liquids?
No, we use no oils.
Okay.
No oils.
So people get more fats from avocado and seeds and nuts?
From seeds and nuts mostly.
Okay.
Is where we get our fats from.
So you're steaming vegetables?
If they're cooked, they can be steamed, they can be sautéed, they can be boiled, they can be baked.
I see. Okay, that's really interesting. And do you grow fruits also?
We grow melons, blueberries, raspberries, and strawberries. And we have set aside, this is a larger project, but we've set aside a 10-acre site, which we've been cover cropping for the past 5 years. And we hope to have a holistic orchard there in the future. So we'll be able to grow tree fruits there, like apples and pears and peaches and cherries.
Yeah, that would be lovely.
Yes.
How exciting.
Yes.
So maybe you could tell us about your practice then, too. You have a year of mindful living program. Maybe you could tell us a little bit about that and who would be a good candidate.
Yes. Our flagship program is called the Ascent to Wellness, a year of mindful living. And the reason why it's called that is we take people who want to become optimally well, and we take them on a year's journey of mindfulness, of paying attention to close attention to what they're doing and how they're living and how they're eating. So the program consists of all the medical care, all the support that goes along with that care from all of our team, whether it be cooking support, educational support, personal advisement, how to eat, how to go into restaurants and survive, how to go on vacations. It includes educational classes. It includes community outings where our year of mindful living members come together and we go to a movie, or we have potluck suppers, or we go on hikes, or we go on trips. It includes all of that. It's a year of living. And so people who, any person can join it. We usually recommend it for people who really don't have a background knowing what to do, or even if you do, if you're not an expert at living a whole food, plant-based lifestyle, there's a lot to learn. And so I think it's a good place to get indoctrinated and really to let everything seep in. So we recommend that. However, not everybody has to do that. If they're patients if they're people who just want to see me for a visit, they can come for a visit. If there's someone who says, I just want, I'm already a plant-based whole foods person, I know what I'm doing, I'm excellent, they can come once a year if they want for a physical or, for an a la carte visit, whatever suits their needs.
I see. That's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just curious. So if somebody comes to your program and they have a chronic illness, do you start them off by weaning down animal products and just upping the vegetable products? Is it a gradual process?
That depends on the subject. It depends on the willingness of the person who is coming. Like everyone to dive in, right? Day one. But usually most people are not like that. And I would say most people in the population who eventually come to be plant-based whole foods people come there through a circuitous path, and it's more of a long journey. It may take months. It may take years where they slowly lean into it, like you described. However, there are people who are very sick with cancer, and there are people who have multiple sclerosis who, can't move their leg, or, someone with severe illness.
Time is of the essence, right?
And they can't, personally, I advise them when they come, you don't have the time to do that. And people with autoimmune problems, and particularly cancer, have to have a very high level compliance and have to stick to it if they want to reverse or treat their illness effectively.
So you think everyone benefits from that type of diet?
Everyone.
Okay.
From a little one-day-old baby to a 95-year-old person who's been smoking all their life, who has heart failure, who seems like they're on death's doorstep. Everyone can benefit from the first days to the last days of life.
Well, plants are the most nutrient-dense food. We talk about being a nutritarian, so having the most bang for your buck with calories, what you put on your spoon should be as nutrient-dense as possible, and that's always plants.
Correct.
The leafy greens, like you were talking about.
Yeah.
And there's richly colored berries, too.
Yes, absolutely.
That's really exciting. When does your farm market open, and how does that run? Is that open to the public?
Yes, it is. Our farm market opened. This was our first year of the farm market. Previous to the farm market, in the first 3 years, we ran a community-supported agriculture, a CSA, where we would grow the food, and then people would come and pick it up every week. And we decided to work with a different model last year, which was a farm market, because it basically gives more people access to what we're doing, and it doesn't take a commitment, like a one-time commitment at the end of the year. It allows people to kind of maybe dip their toe in the water, slide in, and it's not committed. I think it's better for a lot of more people, and for people who are just looking around, trying to see, get their bearings. So anyone is welcome. This past year, it was open every Saturday on weekends. We hope in the coming 2017 season we hope our plans are always to open in late May and then run the farm market at least through Thanksgiving. But it always depends on the weather. So it depends on weather conditions in the spring, if it's raining, if there's a drought, how cold it is. So we expect to have the farm market open in late May, early June for 2017, and hopefully it will be open for more than just Saturdays. Hopefully it will be open weekends and maybe days during the week as well.
Okay, that would be great.
Mm-hmm.
And you do have some cooking classes also, and some events that you do?
We do. We see this as a nice way to maybe get people involved who don't know, who are not well versed in or don't know about the world of plant-based whole foods, and it's open to the public. Anyone can come register for the cooking classes, and we have a wonderful chef, Karina, who is well trained in plant-based whole foods, and it's a wonderful class where you can taste delicious plant-based whole foods at their best. When we have these, we utilize the things that we're cooking with come from the farm, so you get to taste the dishes in the class and from our farm produce, made from our farm produce. So it's very nice.
I'm coming. I can't wait. I'm only about an hour away, so I can't wait to come.
Yeah, it's not far.
No, not at all. I would definitely drive that far for plants grown from that type of quality soil. I mean, as the consumer, we spend extra money on organic food, and we're not quite sure exactly what the soil content is, like you said. So,
correct.
It's really nice when someone's willing to talk about their soil and the quality of what's grown in it. You feel more confident. So, I'm really excited to come taste one of your tomatoes.
Oh, I'm excited for you to come. Our farm stand is, when you drive onto our farm stand is an old, 100-year-old building, which we've just managed to save from falling down, but it's a beautiful rustic building, and it is against the field. So when you come, you can see everything that's growing there in our production field.
That's really, really neat. Need to get back to nature like that, connect with nature. Well,
Definitely.
Thank you so much for sharing such wonderful information about your innovative farm and wellness program. You are truly a pioneer. It was absolutely wonderful speaking with you. And people can find you at www.myethoshealth.com. And you're also on Facebook, correct?
Yes. Yep. We're on Facebook too.
At My Ethos Health?
Yep.
Ethos Health.
Facebook.com/myethoshealth.
Okay. Great. Thank you so much. It was a pleasure.
Thank you so much, Deborah. It's been an honor and a pleasure to talk with you, and I love the work you're doing, and I think we have a lot in common, and hopefully we can collaborate in the future.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you.
So they can stop the recording here. Is there anything else I missed or anything else you'd like to add?
Not at all.
I think we did good.
I think so too.
Okay, great. So I am going to come up in May then, I guess.
Excellent.
You said May is when you open?
Well, probably depending on the weather. We start seeding in late February, early March.
Okay.
So we start seeding in the greenhouse then, and if there freezes if it's still freezing weather in May, then that would be a problem. But if there's not, usually what happens is the season starts with greens, in like spinach, tender greens in late May. So at the average season, if it rains, see, like this past year, it never rained. This spring was a dry spring, so seeds could not germinate in the ground.
I see.
So that was a problem. So, but we hope it's late May.
So do you post things on Facebook?
Yes, we do, and our website. We'll post things. Every farmers market, whenever anything's ready, and what we have, we always post on Facebook so people know what we have.
Do you usually have I'm just curious, do you have an overabundance?
I'm sorry?
Do you usually have an overabundance, or?
No, we sold out at almost every farmer's market.
Do you really?
Yeah.
Wow.
We have a newsletter. If you sign up, if you just go to the website, you can sign up for the newsletter. The newsletter gives updates. It's a monthly newsletter as to what's going on.
Okay. I'm a health coach, and I'm the director of community outreach for Beat Cancer. So I talk to so many people, and so many people are looking for this type of produce. So there's just so many people that want to come take a ride up. So
that would be wonderful.
Yeah.
We also are hoping, I'm keeping my fingers crossed, that in addition to the farm stand, on weekends, that we can have fitness programs like nature walks and farm fit workouts and exercise programs and yoga classes right here with the farm stand, so that people can come and have a nice day.
Oh,
they can get their vegetables and then take in the sunshine, and
Do you ever let people tour the farm, or?
Sure, they're free to. It's open around to the public. Yep.
Okay. Well, that's so great. I can't wait to spread the word, and I can't wait to come see your farm. Very exciting.
Thank you.
You're doing great work.
Thank you, Deb.
Thank you so much. It was great.
It was my pleasure, and thank you for interviewing me.
Sure. Have a wonderful day.
You too.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you so much for joining us on the Beat Cancer Answer. If you learned just one thing today about how to prevent, cope with, or beat cancer, then we have succeeded in our mission. For more information or assistance, visit our website at BeatCancer.Org. Remember to sign up for our educational email series and get your free gift. Join in the conversation on Facebook, Twitter, or Google+, where you can meet others who think just like you. We appreciate all of your feedback and love your suggestions. Please also remember to rate us on iTunes. Your positive ratings help us to get discovered so we can save more lives. Thank you again for listening, and best wishes for good health from all of us at BeatCancer.Org.